Fox 61 Morning News starts now.
And right now at 6 o'clock, we are under a weather watch alert as another wintry system is here. Matt Scott is timing out when a lot of this rain might turn back to snow.
We don't know if this is specifically a hate crime.
A devastating weekend out in California. Several dead and injured after a mass shooting near a Lunar New Year celebration. What we know about the suspect this morning.
We came around the corner and it was billowing smoke and the back porch was on fire.
Yeah, the back of a house caught fire over the weekend in Meriden. We'll have more on the heroic actions by two men and firefighters that saved a family's life.
So even with Roe in place, it just wasn't enough.
And how abortion rights activists are reacting here in Connecticut on what would be the 50th anniversary of Roe versus Wade. Your news at 6 starts right now. And good morning to you. Thanks so much for being with us here at 6 o'clock. Happy Monday. I'm Eric Arias.
And I'm Tim Lammers. Yes, on the weather watch alert this morning, some parts of the state are going from snow to rain and then back to snow. There's a lot to talk about, so let's get right over to meteorologist Matt Scott.
Good morning to you both. A wet drive-in for the most part, slushy in some parts higher up in the northwestern hills. It's dicey out there, and that's what we're going to be dealing with. Not so much now, but later on is the issue. Most of the issues are isolated this morning. The rain is easing. It's lighter, if not completely off, to the south and west. However, we're watching temperatures critically. They're all above freezing now, but colder air may drop it by a few degrees, and that may be enough for some issues, especially in the northwestern hills, where you're going to see some snow in those hill towns, and some of it up there may accumulate. The rest of us just getting a coating on the grass. Here's a look at the radar in review over the last couple of hours, and again, snow has surrounded us. Close, but not close enough. We've had a little bit of a mix, mainly up on that northern border. You can see the radar fairly quiet now. A little snow trying to work into Salisbury, over to Canaan, down 44, the usual suspects, if you will, and trying to get a little mix going on in Heartland. That's been the case for the last couple of hours. That's the radar trying to figure it out. I don't want to say it's confused, but gives you an indication that it's close, and you got to be careful. Watch the rain turn over into some snow shower activity. If we can lay a base down in the higher elevations, then we'll get the accumulations going easily. It'll all be done by dinner time, but then the temperatures drop, and boy, I got to tell you, that may be enough for some slick spots out there for the evening commute. We'll talk about that coming up. For the high schoolers, 36 now, 36 later, with an opportunity for some snow across the board. I got another one coming up too this week. Talk about that coming up. All right, that's a look at the forecast. Let's check the traffic. I think the problems this morning, weather-related problems, hopefully are minimal.
I hope so, and I hope it stays that way. I know we lucked out with the temperatures this morning, so thank you, Matt. Appreciate that. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Hopefully everyone had a good weekend. Let's bring you out to the Hartford area. We did have a closure over on Route 4 in Cornwall. I do want to mention that that has reopened. Traffic is moving freely now, so that's some good news. Over on the eastbound side of I-84, right in the area of Rentschler Field, we do have a little bit of a backup. Also on Route 44 in East Hartford, we're also seeing a little bit of delay. But in the Hartford area, 91 84 as we're taking a live look out on I-84 east and westbound. Things are moving freely out there. Let's take a look at our Waterbury drive times. Just a couple of minutes ago, we did see some delay on the westbound side of I-84, but now traffic is moving smooth in the east and westbound direction on I-84. Also, Route 8 south Seymour to Shelton is looking good as well. Taking a look down in Bridgeport, Fairfield area, we're starting to see that heavier volume out there on the roads on 95. The Merritt Parkway is not looking too bad this morning. We'll check in again on the roads. Coming up at 6:30, Tim and Eric, I'll send things back over to you.
It is 6:04. Yes, this morning flags are at half-staff in Connecticut and around the country as the nation mourns the victims of the country's latest mass shooting.
At least 10 people were killed, another 10 hurt when a gunman opened fire inside of a dance hall in Monterey Park, California. This happened on Saturday night. Revelers were there celebrating the Lunar New Year. Now the police have identified the suspect, a 72-year-old Hu Can Tran. Police say he shot and killed himself yesterday when police surrounded a white van in Torrance. He was traveling in that. That's what police believe. And this was about half an hour from the crime scene. But even with the suspect dead, there are still so many questions.
We don't know if this is specifically a hate crime defined by law, but who walks into a dance hall and guns down 20 people?
Now, police said the gunman actually tried and failed to do more shooting at a second dance hall after leaving the one in Monterey Park. The sheriff said that two, quote, heroes disarmed him and that he later left. Nobody at that second dance hall was hurt. Meanwhile, back in Connecticut, the tragedy in Monterey Park hitting home for the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. Fox 61 spoke to one man who used to work in that exact area where the mass shooting happened.
I used to work in Monterey Park, so it was kind of close to home, and just knowing that it happened on the eve of Lunar New Year was a little traumatic.
Our state's Attorney General William Tong responded to the news saying in part, quote, "We are so much stronger than the hateful, and that is why we will never yield to fear." Well, this morning, Governor Ned Lamont is set to announce new legislation that he hopes is going to curb gun violence in Connecticut should it pass.
And it comes as communities all around the state and the country continue to grapple with a rise in deadly gun violence. Fox 61's Angela Bavaro is joining us at the Capitol this morning in Hartford with more details. Angela, good morning.
Erica, Tim, good morning. And the numbers really telling the story here, painting the reality of this situation. We have this recently released report from JAMA Network, and that shows that the U.S. gun death rate in 2021 hit its highest level in 3 decades. Governor Lamont calling on federal and state leaders to take what he calls is overdue action on this issue of gun violence. At that press conference that is scheduled for later this morning, the governor is expected to announce legislation that is similar to the bill he introduced during last year's session. According to the governor's office, those proposals are meant to close loopholes in the assault weapons ban, make it easier for police to confiscate ghost guns, modify carry laws, and help stop the flow of illegal guns into towns and cities. However, state Republican leaders say some of those proposals, these ideas, are misplaced, arguing that the focus should be on enforcing the laws already on the books.
It's very top of mind for the people of Connecticut, the violence brought by these assault weapons.
A lot of House Republicans' focus is on public safety. How do we give the tools to the police in order to make our communities safer? Those are the kind of conversations we would like to have in the context of gun safety.
Now, Connecticut has taken recent action on this issue of gun violence. This past summer, the newly established Connecticut Commission on Community Gun Violence Intervention and Prevention held its very first meeting, and the goal of that commission is to advise the Department of Public Health on how violence intervention funding should be spent. Now, this year's gun legislation proposals by the governor, that is set to be announced at that press conference happening at 11 o'clock this morning at the Waterbury Police Department. And those proposals are also going to be included in the governor's package of priorities that he will present to the General Assembly next month. Reporting at the state capitol this morning, I'm Angelo Bavaro, Fox 61 News.
Angelo, thank you. Well, 6:08 right now, and police have identified the victim in New Haven's 5th deadly shooting of the year. Police say 33-year-old Michael Wint of New Haven was killed at about 1 a.m. Saturday morning on Whaley Avenue. He was found inside his car and then transported to the hospital, where he later died. Another man later showed up to the hospital with a non-life-threatening gunshot wound. Police believe the two shootings are related, but no further details are available right now. And now we have a follow-up for you in Meriden, where 4 firefighters who were injured in a fire on Saturday night have been released from the hospital. Firefighters tell us that a propane tank exploded, leading to this porch catching on fire. They say they got several 911 calls and a dramatic rescue where crews pulled a teenage boy from the top floor. Several firefighters were hurt, but they say it could have been worse if it wasn't for 2 people in the right place at the right time.
When we first broke in, they actually thought we were breaking into the home. They didn't know the fire was happening.
Well, they pulled a mom and her children out, but then they realized the teenage boy was still upstairs. Eventually, firefighters got the boy out, leaving 4 of them and the teen hospitalized. The fire department thanked the 2 men for their help.
They did a great job. A lot of credit to them for that. And there were reports of a person on the number 3 floor. The firefighters who were here tonight, they gave it their all. And they, they went above and beyond. They always do, but I can't say enough about them tonight.
Well, Hartford Courant is reporting that the man who was stuck inside the house was listed as in critical but stable condition at the Jacoby Medical Center in the Bronx. The cause of the fire is still under investigation.
Today, a man accused of shooting and killing another man is due in court. Police said 55-year-old Derek Johnson of Waterbury is suspected of killing 35-year-old Edward Bosampra in a multifamily home on Robin Street. Johnson was charged with multiple crimes, including murder and risk of injury to a child. He's being held on a bond of $2 million.